What is something you'll never forgive yourself for? When I was 17, I started working at this electronics store downtown and became friends with my coworker who was about my age. We would hang out after work playing video games at his apartment and talking about girls and sports. He was really into cars and spent all his money on modifications for his ride. It was nothing fancy, just an old coupe, but he had put thousands of dollars into the engine and sound system, and it was his pride and joy. He worked double shifts every weekend and skipped lunch most days to save money for parts. Every paycheck went straight into that car, and he would spend hours in his driveway installing new components and polishing every surface until it gleamed. One Friday night, he asked if I wanted to borrow his car for a date I was going on because my dad had taken away my driving privileges for failing a math test. I really wanted to impress this girl from school who I had been trying to ask out for months, so I said yes, even though I knew he was being incredibly generous, letting me use something that meant so much to him. He handed me the keys and told me to be careful because he had just installed new speakers that cost him 3 months of paychecks and a new exhaust system that he had been saving up for all year. The date went amazing, and I felt so cool pulling up in this modified car with the bass thumping and the engine rumbling. The girl was impressed and kept commenting on how nice the car was. We had a great time at dinner and the movies, and I felt like everything was going perfectly. When I dropped her off at her house around midnight, I was feeling confident and decided to take the long way back to return the car to my friend instead of going straight home like I had promised. I wanted to enjoy driving it for just a little bit longer. I was driving through this quiet residential area when I came to a four-way stop sign. I had been to a few parties before this, and while I felt fine, I probably should not have been driving at all. I rolled through the stop sign without coming to a complete stop, thinking no one would be around at that hour, and suddenly there were flashing lights behind me. The police officer was young and seemed annoyed that he had to deal with me on a Friday night. He asked for my license, registration, and insurance. I handed him my license, but realized I had no idea where my friend kept his paperwork. I started looking through the glove compartment and center console frantically while the officer waited outside. My hands were shaking as I searched through fast food receipts and car magazines. When I finally found the registration, I noticed it was expired by about 6 months. The officer came back to my window and asked me to step out of the vehicle. He said he could smell alcohol on my breath, which was true because I had been drinking earlier in the evening at a house party before my date. He asked me to walk in a straight line and touch my nose with my eyes closed. I failed both tests miserably, stumbling and missing my nose completely, and he arrested me on the spot for driving under the influence. They impounded the car immediately, and I spent the night in a holding cell with a bunch of other people who had made similar mistakes. I called my parents in the morning, and they were furious. But they were even more upset when I told them I had been driving someone else's car without permission. My friend had to take 2 buses and walk 4 miles to get to the impound lot on Monday morning because he did not have money for a taxi. The impound fees were over $400, which was almost his entire paycheck, and his car had been towed so roughly that the new front bumper he had saved up for was cracked and hanging off. One of his side mirrors was completely broken, and there were scratches all down the driver's side. When he saw the damage, he just stood there staring at his car for about 10 minutes without saying anything to me. I offered to pay for everything, but he knew I did not have that kind of money, working part-time at minimum wage. Making the situation even more painful was that his insurance premium went up because of the charge, even though he was not driving, and it took him almost a year to get his car back to the condition it was in before that night. Our friendship never recovered from that incident, and within 2 months, he quit the job and moved to a different city. I destroyed something he had worked so hard for because I was selfish and made terrible decisions.